Welcome back to the D.H.E show, where we talk about building empires without sacrificing on bedtime stories. Each show is going to give you 2 to 4 actionable tips that you can implement today in your lives to start seeing traction and results. Beyond just business, hey, we're dads, we're husbands, and to us, that comes first. It matters just as much about the business success as it does at home. Because what is the point of building an empire, building a business of your dreams, if your family cannot come along with you on the journey and enjoy the fruits of our labors? Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us today. Today's episode is the 3 things you're probably not thinking about as you are starting your new journey, your new business. They're not sexy. They're not the most exciting things to talk about, but they're vitally important, and they're things that we overlook too in our journey, and we want to make sure you don't overlook them as well. Our only ask is you enjoy the show. Well, I guess 2 asks. 1, enjoy the show. Number 2, please share the show if you got value, if you found the topics we talked about insightful, if you enjoyed the conversation. Please share the show with someone that you think can benefit from what we're talking about today, someone that needs to hear our top 3 tips. And please, if you could do us a huge favor, leave a review, leave a comment, just engage with us. Let us know what you're liking. Give us your thoughts. How is the show going? What are you learning from us? What should we cover in the future? We need you to engage to do that, because I'm sort of a mind reader, but just at home. I can't do that through the screen. But enough about the intro, enough about us. We will just jump into the show here. Matt and Ole with the D.H.E show. Take it away.
Welcome back, everybody, to the podcast, the D.H.E podcast. Today, we have a really cool topic, something that is going to teach you entrepreneurs and maybe those entrepreneurs out there something or two about the top 3 things you aren't thinking about when you start a business. And I come from a very unique perspective. I think Matt will attest to this. I am very much big picture. I come in the office every day with 10 ideas, and Matt's like, dude, shut the fuck up and focus on one. And if you don't focus on one, I'm going to kick you in the balls. And I'm totally cool with that, because that is how we get shit done here at Switchback. Right, Matt?
I have never said anything even remotely close to that. But
you do tell me to focus a lot, though.
I do tell you to focus. And I also, this is not what we're going to, not one of the 3 tips, but I always tell Ole, you need a chart of all of the what ifs and some days and maybes, and all those crazy ideas you have, just put in that chart for now. And we'll look at it maybe every 6 months. Otherwise, I don't want to hear about it.
Matt constantly tells me that, so I feel like I'm always like a scolded kid. Like, I come in with this grand idea, and Matt's like, put it on the chart, man. And I'm like,
gotta stay focused.
Yes, you do. But in fairness, Matt's up to right. But the reason I say that, and it was not a tangent, despite what people listening are probably thinking, the reality is, as an entrepreneur, there's just a bunch of shit I don't think about. And as I was building Switchback, when I set out on this endeavor in March of 2022, I couldn't have been more wrong. And I also didn't think about a lot of the stuff that was like really important to business. And oftentimes in my cartoon bubble, I think back to when I was in corporate America, and I'm like, why is there 72 people in purchasing for this organization? Now it all makes sense, because those people have a very tedious job. But the top 3 things that you aren't thinking about when you start a business. Matt, do you want to take number 1, or would you like me to?
Why don't you go with it? You're on a roll.
Yes, I am. Okay, number 1, and this is, I think, the most important thing that you are not going to think about, and maybe you do. Maybe it'll cross your mind, but you're going to brush it off, because if you're like me as an entrepreneur in your big picture, your mind goes to, I can do this better than everybody else, which is undeniably true, except for the fact that there's still rules we have to play within. Which, number 1 is doubling or tripling the amount of cash you need to raise for your business. Or another way, doubling or tripling the projected cash burn. So I remember it was probably August or September of 22, I got introduced to a guy who founded a popcorn company. And telling the guy my idea, and he's like, man, this is really cool. I want to try it. And he goes, I'm going to give you a piece of advice. I'm like, okay, what? And he goes, double the amount of money. If you think you need 300, raise 600. And I remember thinking to myself, like, man, this guy is a fucking idiot. I know how to do this. I could do this for 100,000 right now.
It's funny that you had that. You're not the only one. Every entrepreneur has this thought, but like, you knew nothing. You had never launched a business, and someone who's launched a business is telling you this, and you're still like, yeah, not real.
Isn't it? But Matt, isn't it funny though? Like, when you think about that, it's so true. I bet if we talk to most entrepreneurs are going to say the same thing. Someone told me this. I didn't believe them. I thought I could do it myself. But the reality is you can, and you can probably do it for cheaper, but you're not going to grow and you're going to stumble across issues. But one of the points that he brought up that I thought was really interesting was shit's going to happen and you're going to need cash to pay for it. And I remember thinking like, well, I don't understand why, like what could possibly happen? Like we got this laid out. We know what we're going to spend. And he could not have been more right. So that is the first thing is like unexpected shit is going to happen. And in our case, unexpected things happened multiple times that caused us to continue to go back and go back and go back and get more money. The second piece of that is, as I look at it, literally the 5 entrepreneurs that told me that all told me it would take us so much more money. And I kept saying, no, it won't. No, it won't. And I regret that because it would have been easier to go out there and raise an additional $500,000. But at the same time, one caveat, and Matt's probably going to slap me for this because I'm getting a little bit tangent, is if we had the cash, would we have spent it on something else? Like, would we have put ourselves in the same position to begin with? So I think there's a balancing act, Matt, of you want to raise enough money, but you don't want to raise too much that you're comfortable and can start, doing dumb things.
That was going to be one of my questions to you is so what we have spent on, I mean, most of it has gone to, for the most part, business critical things, but what percentage of what we spent in the last 6 months do you think went to not super necessary things?
Do you think the marketing screw up we had was unnecessary, or was that just a lesson that we're going to have to stumble through no matter what?
I'm not, no.
Are you talking just pure frivolous shit where we swipe the company card?
Frivolous things or like trade shows or influencers or things where it's like seemed too good to be true and we put money at it when we could have been like not business critical. 2
trade shows, both of them we learned stuff from. We got a crash course. But you look at the 2 trade shows, the sampling, the product, the hotels, the airfare. I mean, that was $14,000-$15,000 that yielded us almost nothing other than a little bit of brand exposure. But also, if you're don't think that I regret that. That was exposure. That's brand. You're going to have to do stuff. You're going to have to make mistakes. But looking back, it's really easy. It's like, hey, we shouldn't have gone to that show. But who knows what's going to come out from it? In the future, maybe we'll get some sales. The only real frivolous thing I can honestly think of, Matt, that I spent money on that I really regret was buying a bunch of merch. Now, the same time, though, that merch is incredibly handy. So today I'm sending 4 shirts and 4
so
sweatshirts
good at
to
justifying.
people. No, but it's also like if you look at the merch from a sales standpoint, I thought we would sell merch because our logo's dope. It's not moving. But the merch is actually really good to have because, like, my buddy up in Duluth who keeps referring Switchback to all of his friends, I'm going to send he and his kids and his wife and a bunch of other people shirts and sweatshirts, to say thank you. So it's a really cheap way for us to say thank you to them without having to go, spend thousands of dollars.
I think it's interesting how you and I look at budget and money a little different. Like, I hear what you're saying. You're justifying away the merch spend. But to me, not spending that money and sending a handwritten card is almost equally as heartfelt, so to speak. Now they're not wearing a shirt and the other things that go with it, but in month 6, how important is having all the merch or having the trade shows or there's spending money to test and learn and figure out what's going to happen, and then there's just spending money.
Yeah.
As you put on a hat and some merch. I get it.
I got to wear the hat right now. I've hat hair. My hair is so long, I haven't cut it in
but now you're all shadowy looking on the video.
Now my wife is going to kick me in the balls because she hates when I wear a hat backwards.
So I agree with you. You probably are going to spend more than you think you're going to. So make sure that if you think you need $100,000 to run things, or $50,000 or $10,000 or $1 million, my rule of thumb has always been to have at least 20% more than what you think. Do you think that's a fair rule of thumb for year one?
I think it's incredibly. I would. You said 20%. I would say 50 to 100%. Go bigger. Put more money in the bank. At least have it set aside. Do something, because unexpected shit's going to happen. And Matt, the reason I say that is, like, if you walk into a store today and someone's like, hey, Matt, nice to meet you. Would like to sell you some shit. And you're like, dude, no, like I'm good. Usually those people kind of back off, right? Because taking money out of a consumer's pocket is difficult. And it's also something that a lot of people don't like. They don't want to take, like, people don't generally look at you as an unlimited source of funds. Where I really feel like being an entrepreneur sucks is once you start a business, there are all sorts of people. Like I wrote down, money will disappear, and it'll disappear quicker than ever before. People will take advantage of the business because they see it as a business. And they're like, oh, well, here's a bill for $472 for my 3 minutes worth of work. And I'm not talking about attorneys. Like, that's a whole different game. I'm talking about how many people nickel and dime you and send you this and send you that. And, oh, we can do this.
Yeah.
I haven't encountered many businesses that look at a startup and are like, hey, man, I really want to see you succeed. Like, we're going to help you out here. We're not going to nickel and dime the shit out of you. And so you will get hammered with bills. And you will, just when you think you're doing great, you'll get an unexpected bill in the mail, or you get an unexpected invoice, whatever. It's going to suck. So raise more money. Just don't spend it on dumb shit.
Do you think having like some sort of check and balance in place could help here? So like, if I want to spend money on something, I need to be able to prove that it's going to return something. Or if you want to spend on anything that, you know, you go through, you kind of have like a little template or something you follow, and here's the spend, here's what I think I'm going to get, here's the return I'm going to get out of it. I know that's getting pretty prescriptive, but do you think being that laser focused on what you're spending and what you hope to get out of it would help avoid frivolous spending?
I think to some extent it would, but I also would not say that that's going to make a healthy business in the short run.
Why not?
That's like Fortune 500 level shit there, where everything is nickel and dime down to a T. Why not? Because
don't you kind of have to be nickel and dime though in this entrepreneurial world where you not everyone has the ability to just go raise money and get more and more. And
I don't disagree with it, but if you're saying, I guess back up, are you saying like in this case I would put down what I want to spend money on and I would ask you, does this make sense? Or are you saying like you do that personally as the entrepreneur yourself? Like look at it and be like, does this make sense?
I think both. Like take the emotion out of it and take the rose-colored glasses off and just be a little more black and white with it.
I think maybe, but I still think you're going to get into a lot of frustration with a business partner, with other people, if you're constantly having to run shit past people. Like, you're an entrepreneur for a reason. You're whimsical. You're a big idea person. It's almost like saying like, and I'm okay. How do I put this? It's almost like saying you're going to change the personality of the entrepreneur. Now, if Matt, if I come in and say, hey man, I'm going to go buy a Mercedes AMG on company money, like you better look at me like that's the dumbest effing thing you could ever do, man. Like you are an idiot. You can't do that. But also like if I'm saying, hey Matt, I'm going to take a flyer on this $500 thing. 10 $500 things add up. But if you're doing one and you're just dipping your toes in, I think you're going to hurdle. I think you're going to make a lot of enemies pretty quick in a startup if you start telling people what they can and can't spend money on as an entrepreneur. Because like that is part of the excitement. Like I hate to say it, but I need to learn where to fail. Right? I don't, just like at home, we don't want our wives to tell us, you can't do that. Right? We'd rather learn from failure. I still think to some extent, like if it's a small failure, let someone learn. It's just like the trade shows. Had you told me, Matt, back in January, dude, these trade shows are dumb. You're an idiot. I would have, and if you would have been like, you can't do those here. I think most people are going to dig their heels in and they're just going to want to do it even worse. But if you said like, hey man, like go try one trade show and here are the metrics that you need. That's a better way to put it.
Yeah, that's why I go with more of a metric approach instead of just two people's opinions.
I like that. If you put metrics around things of what you expect to get out, and if you don't get it, move on. Yeah. An asshole I used to work for said something I thought was great. He goes, you can't.
This isn't me, right?
Do you?
Oh, you?
No,
you don't work for me.
You're just a barbed wire teddy bear. Yeah. It was the greatest thing in the world. This guy goes, you can't wish a prospect good, but it applies to everything. If something is dog shit, you can't just wish it good. Like move on. And so if you go to a trade show and your metrics are, we want 5 sales out of it, and you come out and you get 1, and I come back to the office, I'm like, Matt, we got one. Like it could turn into 5. I'm wishing that good. If we didn't get it, just move on. Spend your money elsewhere. Do smart things and make it happen. So
cool.
That's kind of wrapping up the number one is double or triple your projected cash burn and what you need to raise to get this thing off the ground.
I like it. All right, man. I'll go with number 2. This one, every entrepreneur I ever talk to, regardless of the industry, always has this question, and it's, when do I need attorneys? When do I get them involved? Like, how do I use them in my business? And I think most people brush this one off to the side and assume I only need an attorney if something major happens, or I only need attorneys if I'm doing business documents. Like, I don't really need that thing. I fell victim to this, right? Like, I tried to do the LegalZoom thing and set up my own LLC, and you end up spending so much time going down so many rabbit holes, wasting your resources and your energy on something where if you just outsource it and just go to an expert from the start, you're going to get what you need. You're going to pay for it, but you're going to get what you need in a very good professional document, well done, and not have to have this whole time suck here, right? Everything is taken care of. Like, there's a lot to be said for peace of mind, knowing that all of your legal stuff is where you need it to be. So that's lens 1 on the attorney piece is the business formation structure. Like, go to the experts on it. But I think the bigger one on the attorney piece that I never thought of before until I started working with you, Ole, is you need to be ready in case something happens, in case the shit hits the fan, in case you need to go take legal action. The last thing you want to do is be scrambling at the last minute to find someone to help you with. So doing the work ahead of time, figuring out what attorneys, what sort of legal protection help do I need in this business, what problems might I encounter over the next 1, 2, 3 years, and who can I get on my team to help me solve it, I think is just a huge overlook on most people's parts.
So from your past, why would you tell someone, particularly an entrepreneur who has a budget, why would you tell them not to go with LegalZoom? Like, what? And now that we're knocking LegalZoom, my first LLC that I set up for this entity was LegalZoom. But what are some concrete ideas? I
mean, my biggest learning for me is that you need people on your team. Like, you need someone in your phone, in your contacts, that you can just pick up the phone and call, that is going to understand your business. They're going to understand who you are, and they're going to be able to have a dialogue with you on what you truly need set up and when and where and how. In my real estate business, right, I have an LLC set up for the structure of the business, and I had an attorney that did it, who I know, who we talk to every 6 months or so just to say hi. Well, when I was served a judgment or whatever the hell it's called, because one of the tenants was unhappy with the property, I don't want to deal with that, and I don't want to scramble to find someone to help me. So I just pick up the phone and call Rick. Hey, we got this issue. How do I wade through it? Like, I had him ready to go. He was already, someone on my team, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to be learned there for a lot of people, and watch how I say this, because I'm sure there are good neighborhood attorneys. Don't just hire an attorney because they're a friend or they're a referral. Choose the best damn attorney based off of what industry you're in. In our case, we're in the food industry. We have what I think and what I would argue is some of the best damn food attorneys in the nation. And these guys are really good. They're talented. And they're helping us with contracts. They're helping us with some other stuff right now. I mean, it is one of those things that, why have an IP lawyer if he's a buddy draft up all of our documents when we don't have any theoretical IP? Which is the other piece. If you are going down this path, Matt, and you do have a business or you have an idea, what advice would you give someone about, if you can patent the idea, what advice would you give them?
That is way beyond my area of expertise. I have a very good friend who's a patent attorney, but I've never, that's way more your world. Did you do that with Switchback? Did you have to go through the patent process and everything? So
you can't patent a formulation of food, but initially, and I think
trademark the name,
trademark the name, trademark some of the slogans, copyright. But here's the deal: we were going to be a bottled concept, Matt, where we had a tube full of powder hanging in a bottle so that you could grab it and go, and the shelf stability. which thank God we didn't go down that route. Like it was really cool and it was awesome. And so we hired, I spent, I don't know, a couple $1,000 on doing patent searches and looking at everything, which was really cool.
You did it or the attorney did it?
The attorneys did it. So I hired an attorney to go through, gave them our drawings, what we were looking at doing, all this stuff. And they did the patent search. The coolest part about that was, okay, it was like $2,500, maybe it was $3,000. I don't know. It was money that we could have spent elsewhere. But at the time, that wasn't the plan, right? We weren't just going to be a bunch of sachet dudes. So I look at it and go, I got to see firsthand what that experience is like. What do they look for? What are the rules? What can be patented? Why can it be patented? How do you do it? How long does it take? Like, that's a case where, you know, had we known early on that the bottle idea would have been too damn expensive, like we could have moved on. But at the same time, I'm sitting here going like, dude, it was worth it because now I understand if we ever get into IP territory, what's the first phone call? What's the second phone call? What do we do? It really is a fascinating world, but you're right from the attorney perspective. If you're starting a business, go get a damn good attorney. I mean, I come from the world of insurance where I got to see firsthand contracts, lawsuits, you name it. It's a gnarly world, and go protect yourself.
Well, and I think the other piece with the whole attorney world is that too often you get advice from some random Joe Schmo. You get advice from a forum. You watch a YouTube video. You listen to a podcast. You listen to someone like us give their opinion on their situation, and then you think, well, I'm the same, so I need that thing that they have, right? Like I do a lot in real estate investing. We talked about that before, and so many first-time people in that world feel like they need to have all of this stuff set up. They need LLCs. They need to do S corps or whatever the case might be, right? And they just get stuck in this legal question. And they try to research it, and they do all of this analysis paralysis, and they never take action because they can't get over the damn question of what sort of entity do I need in the first place, because they don't just go talk to an attorney because they don't want to spend the money to go do it. I'm assuming in real entrepreneurial world, building products like what we're doing now, that it's probably similar. Someone's sitting in their kitchen, they have an idea for a food product, and well, am I an LLC? Am I an S corp? I don't know. And then they sit there and get distracted, and they never take action because they don't get over this damn hurdle of just go talk to an attorney.
Yeah. Leave. Okay. I think I mentioned this before, and it's a really good analogy. The chief operating officer I used to work for, he said something. I was like trying to focus on all my weaknesses, and he looked at me, he's like, dude, why the hell would you focus on your weaknesses when you have all of these strengths out there? Go double down on your strengths and get a lot better. And same thing. If you're not an attorney, then go hire a really good attorney to build. Like, don't dick around. You can save yourself a couple $100, sure. Go hire the attorney and make sure everything's done right the first time. We unfortunately are redoing some of our documents, and we're unwinding some really bad shit. So anyway, definitely, I would say, attorneys are your friend in this case, and if you're going to own a business, they're going to become your best friends. So treat them well, find a good one, and good luck. If you need suggestions, reach out because we can point you in the right direction.
Awesome. All right, man. Number 3.
So number 3, I know I tossed a couple at you, Matt. Which one did you think was the most important number 3 today? Was it the CFO, finance controller aspect of it?
I like that one. I think that's, again, an overlooked thing that people assume that they can handle themselves.
Yeah, I mean, so this is one, again, I learned from firsthand experience. Classic entrepreneur mistake, classic Ole, thinking you can do everything. Did I not just say focus on what you're good at and pass off the rest to experts? I was going to handle finance. I was going to be my own controller. I was going to be my own bookkeeper. If my dad's listening, he's probably laughing hysterically or having a heart attack by that comment. But like, seriously, I was going to do all of these things. I mean, I think I've told Matt many times, even from a business perspective, I was going to be my own. I was going to do all my marketing. Like, I had visions of this being a $5 million company and one employee, which is, we won't go there. The reason I say that, though, is one of the most important things along that line, it would have been July of 22. When I'm sitting down, I'm talking to my dad about this, and my dad goes, you need a damn good bookkeeper, controller, accountant, whatever. And I kind of challenged him on it, which was a mistake. I mean, here's a guy who CFO of a large company. I mean, he knows what he's doing. Fast forward a couple months, and he's asking me. He's my interim CFO, and he's asking me for all these documents, and I'm like, well, what are you talking about? Why is that important? Why is this important? Why is that important? And we sat down and he looked at me. He goes, I'm going to paraphrase this, but it was something to the effect of like, if you don't start taking this shit seriously, you're going to lose this goddamn company before you even sell one. And I was like, oh, wow. And it sucked. It was like a punch in the gut, punch in the face. But I sat back and I was like, man, this guy's right. So instead of trying to do all this stuff, I just listened to him and I started doing what he was asking me to do. And when I look at it early on, a lot of people are asking, Ole, why? Like, what are your projections? Well, now I would say to anybody, like, our projections, like, they're as good as toilet paper, right? Because they're just that. But
they're good for wiping up shit.
Exactly. I mean, that's pretty much what we do with them at this point. But here's the CFO, controller, friend. They're going to see, if you're a classical entrepreneur, which means you're the big idea guy and you're the passion, you're the energy, you're probably not the detail guy. They are the detail guy. But I know I said something contradictory there, like a controller, friend, bookkeeper. Find someone who is a brilliant finance person that wants to be involved, believes in you. Because what you need is a real strategy person running that can see the bigger picture. That's not going to shoot your ideas down, but can actually understand if you're going to spend 50 grand more in 1 month, why, and what does it actually mean? So when I look, go ahead, Matt.
Well, I hear you on the find a brilliant strategist, entrepreneur-y finance guy. Like, that's an ideal unicorn scenario. I would say just find someone who is good at bookkeeping so you don't have to do it. Like, I have wasted more time trying to do my own books than I care to even, acknowledge. I'm not a finance guy. It is a time suck. Just putting invoices into QuickBooks or into whatever your accounting software, it takes a lot of goddamn time. So yes, find someone who is fantastic, but don't let that stop you from just outsource the books as soon as you feel comfortable doing it, because you're gonna get time back.
Back to what we said, let the expert do it, man. We could walk through this portion of this episode for like probably 20 to 30 hours about the importance of your finance people. But I'll give you a couple very quick examples. Number one, if you are starting your business and you don't know what your gross margin is on an item, and you can't articulate that, and you can't understand what your total cost of goods and what happens if X then Y, you need to hire a damn CFO. You need to hire someone, or you need to go get someone that knows it. If you're building projections because you're going out there, so like let's say you're an entrepreneur, you're putting together your business plan, you're like, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to raise some money right now. Go get a buddy that actually understands projections, build that financial statement. Again, it is a projection. It is going to end up being worth less than a piece of toilet paper, but that's what people want to see. If you're struggling to raise money, you need someone that can put in there what you want. I've got a great friend with a great and brilliant business idea. The guy is absolutely amazing. But when he sends me projections, he's like, we're going to sell 2,000 units this month. Here's our gross margin. Here's how much we're making. And I'm like, dude, where's your marketing expense? Well, we'll spend $1,000 on marketing. I'm like, that's not going to happen. You're going to spend 20 grand on marketing. You need to be realistic. And as an entrepreneur, we are not realistic. CFOs, brilliant finance people, they are realistic. They have seen the whole business. We typically do not. And I'm not demeaning you as an entrepreneur because I'm in that boat. I am saying this about me. This is me. I am not realistic when it comes to where we're spending money.
What do you think is the most important numbers to know in the business?
So that's a loaded question, Matt, because I think every month it's going to change, right? Like our most important number right now is what is in our bank account, because we need to be able to pay our bills. That's
not what I meant.
No, but like truthfully, like that's what I focus on. So as a business owner, what I'm always curious about, what I need to understand is, what is our gross margin on a product? What is our selling price? What is our cost? What is our gross margin? And then from there, it's running a bunch of models past my dad to ask him, hey, if we sold it at this price point, what would it mean? If we sold it at this price point, what would it mean? if we sold, like a hypothetical, if we got into a major retailer and this was our price point to them and they sold it for this, what does that mean? So I would tell you, you need to understand the cost of your product, the raw material inputs, and what cents mean to every single unit you sell. And I mean that. Like
gross margin is by far the most important thing to understand. And it blows my mind. I don't care what industry you're in. I don't care if you sell product or service. I don't care if you are in rental real estate or whatever the case is. You have to understand gross margin. You have to understand the profit that comes in for selling a service, an item, a good, whatever your metrics are. Because if you only look at top line or you only look at the bank account, you are going to miss out on a lot of potential expenses. You're going to miss out on a lot of ways, just inefficiencies within the business. I worked for another company where they literally had no idea what the gross margin was. And they were an enormous company, and it blew my mind how much waste and how much unnecessary spend was in there, because they never took the time to actually get down to the actual profit.
Matt, I think you nailed it. I know we're getting more on more on the finance numbers side of it per se. But it all boils down to having a damn good finance person. Because the reason most people don't understand this is they don't understand finance. They're not finance professionals. I was not a finance professional. I will never be a finance professional. But now I know how to read the balance sheet. Now I know how to do all of these things that 5 years ago I thought I knew how to do, but I didn't. But I also now understand the importance because I have had someone teach me the importance of these things. So like one of them that I think about a lot is, Matt, that we're looking at 3PLs, and we're our 3PL is great, but we're moving manufacturing. Our production's going to be in one portion of the country. Our 3PL's in a different.
3PL is
3PL fulfillment term. So the people that actually ship our product, they pick it, pack it, ship it. Dude, what does $1 more in a pick fee mean? And it's like, so at surface level, I'm looking at this, I'm like, hey, Dad, got this quote. Here's a quote. Yeah, they're $1 more on the pick fee. And my dad's like, okay. But I'm like, but they're $1.60 less per shipment. He's like, okay, so it's essentially a wash. But you need people that can guide you through that, because you can't really make a decision without data. I'm going to apologize to if any of my former clients are listening to this, if anybody in my former career is listening to this. I was whimsical, and I didn't I knew data was important, but I didn't understand why data is important. When you're dealing with cents and you're dealing with as this scales, that data is going to drive the decisions. Running modeling of what's it going to look like to ship 1,000 units a month out of XYZ versus ABC, that can be a 1%, 2% boost to our gross margin at the end of the month. That's enormous for a startup. But that's stuff that I'm not going to be able to do. I mean, I can do it, but not as well as a CFO or a buddy who is a finance guru. So I know that I have shared a lot here, and Matt, I'm happy to answer more questions from, but I'm going to say these are the three things that I have learned, and I've gotten my teeth kicked in the last year. And these are three things that I want to share with you. That's why we're talking about these, because these are important. I can give you real life examples of every one of these and how they've negatively impacted our business.
Cool, man. We'll save those examples for future episodes, because I think we want to stay a little high level here with you, and just these topics, like we said, they're probably overlooked. You're probably not thinking about it, or you're probably ignoring them. So at least hear what we said, start digging in. Don't get handcuffed. Don't get analysis paralysis. There are so many resources out there now to find people in all of these areas to help you. I mean, reach out to us. If we don't have great contacts in every industry, but at least we can help talk through some of this with you. If you're struggling with, where do I find a finance person? How do I find a bookkeeper? There's a lot of ways to do it nowadays. So,
Matt, the other piece is, do not be afraid to reach out for help. People want to help you. I mean, unless you're an asshole, but people want to help you succeed. If you have a business idea, if you need help, I guarantee you there is someone in your life that is going dude, I would love to be your financial guy. Because the other thing is and we've seen this because we're hiring people in 2024. We've seen this. We have people that are giving us 25, 30 hours a week of volunteer time right now because they want to work for us when we have the money. And so think about it that way too. Like, you have friends that are probably like, dude, you have got a great idea. Let me help you in my spare time. And hopefully they can come to work for you full time. So again, don't be afraid to ask your friends for guidance, for help, because people love to help other entrepreneurs. Like, it's something that people get really excited about. So
Bingo.
Reach out.
Cool, man. Let's wrap this thing up. Any final last words that you want to throw out, Ole?
Jump in the game. Go from entrepreneur to entrepreneur. Keep on listening, but I'm telling you, I have had so much fun. I got to see what a entrepreneur was like. I was an entrepreneur for 16 years. I became an entrepreneur, and I am beyond stoked. Every day is an absolute battle. It is the toughest fucking thing you will ever do in your life, but it is so worth it every day. It is so much fun, and I wouldn't change anything. So hopefully you can take these 3 things that we've learned in the last year, apply them to your business, apply them to your idea, and maybe shortcut some of this stuff and fly past us.
Awesome, man. Cool. Until next time, everyone, have a fantastic rest of the week.
Peace.
Take care.